Guys, as we continue to react to the aftermath of this shocking result, I wanted to kind of speculate on what happens with Ohio State and their coaching staff for the future and the upcoming few years. I know a lot of people are talking about Ryan Day being on the hot seat or possibly being fired. Let me just say right now, Ryan Day is not getting fired. The only way Ryan Day would leave this year or this offseason, it would probably be something like a mutual parting where Day would say, listen, I'm done with it. I'm going to the NFL. And you know, maybe Day doesn't like the whole college NIL recruiting thing. But that is just speculation. Ohio State, in my opinion, is going to go to Ryan Day and probably give him an ultimatum and say, listen, you need to beat Michigan next year. And if you lose to Michigan, we're going to have to let you go. That's what I speculate is probably happening. I think what's so demoralizing for Ohio State and their fan base is the way they lost last year was so humiliating. It was so horrible. And then this year at home, you're facing a first-year quarterback. You're 8-point favorites. You have a Heisman Trophy returning quarterback losing like this again, and really not fixing anything. That is why people are reacting the way they're reacting. That is why they want him fired, because there is no improvement in this game. So Ohio State, listen, the coaching staff, they're not going to do anything today. I think they'll tell them, you got to beat Michigan next year. We cannot have this. We can't keep doing this thing. We're not going to go in circles with you saying, I'm going to beat him, then you don't. And we see Day during his post-game press conference say, it's on me, I got to figure it out. And it's like, you said that last year, so we're going to, now we're going in circles. Now we're doing the same thing. We're trusting you to figure it out. And then you lose again. That's when it becomes an issue. Right? It happens once, okay. It happens twice, it becomes an issue. It happens 3 times, you need to be fired. That's my view of it. So I think they give him another year. But a lot of fans right now are lashing out. It's not surprising at all. That's why I didn't understand. There was an article by someone who said if Ryan Day loses to Michigan today, he'll be on the hot seat. And a bunch of Ohio State fans got triggered and they're like, there's no way. Yes, this is what happens. If you lose to Michigan, you don't go to the Big Ten Championship back-to-back years at home. This is what's going to happen. There's an expectation here. This is not a Michigan Jim Harbaugh situation where they let him go 0-5 against Ohio State. You can't keep losing like this. You have superior talent. You have home field advantage. This is unacceptable. It just simply is. Ohio State has a standard at this point that you would think, is higher than Michigan. If Ohio State's head coach was 0-5 against Michigan, he wouldn't be 0-5. He'd be 0-3 and they would fire him. So it's like there needs to be a higher standard. Obviously, right now, I think the pecking order in the Big Ten, it's very hard to gauge, but you do have to say it's probably changing right now. You probably, Michigan being in front of Ohio State now 2 straight years, going to the Big Ten Championship 2 straight years. Do they pass Ohio State in the overall Big Ten hierarchy? I think they have to, because it's 2 straight years now, and it's ridiculous. And there are a few quotes from the game to actually look at, and I wanted to talk about. CJ Stroud, I don't think one game defines us. I don't think this game defines our team. Unfortunately, it probably does. Unless Ohio State can sneak into the playoff and completely rewrite history, that is the sad thing with Michigan being this good. You lose to them, and that's basically the season, because now you don't get to rebound in the Big Ten Championship. Your resume gets shot completely because you don't get that Big Ten Championship. So I know CJ Stroud, I feel really bad for CJ Stroud. He had a few quotes that were pretty crazy. Let me see. CJ Stroud says, I stopped living a personal life this season as he prepared for this game. There was no stone I didn't turn over to try and win. Yikes. And really with CJ Stroud, it is a sad story. It is a sad story with CJ, because this game, again, I'd have to go back and watch it, but it just felt like you get into the third. It was 20-17 at half. It was a game where it was like, man, I can't believe Ohio State's not winning this game by, to be honest, like 17 points. I thought it was going to get pretty ugly. I thought Ohio State was going to blow them out. When you're talking about 16 first downs to 4 first downs, that's a domination. And they got a few big plays. That kept them in it. But going into the second half, you think, here it is. Here's the avalanche for Ohio State. 3 more passing touchdowns for C.J. Stroud. And it's like Michigan starts with the ball. They score a touchdown. And Ohio State's offense just could never, it didn't even feel like Michigan was stopping Ohio State. It was so weird. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just because I only watched it once. But it was a real weird feeling. And then you had the whole thing with the G. Scott penalty that completely ruined a drive. And you look at it from C.J. Stroud's perspective, he's starting a drive, and his first pass attempt in that drive comes on 2nd and 33. What is going on? How are we supposed to, that's no way for a quarterback to operate. And I'm someone who hasn't even been this huge C.J. Stroud fan, but I actually like C.J. Stroud even more after this game. I think it's just a weird situation. It was a weird game. The defense let him down. And I thought he missed the throw to Cade Stover on 4th and 2. He clearly missed. But other than that, I thought C.J. Stroud played a good game. And I thought he actually moved really well in the pocket. They did give him a lot of time. And there were a few times when he could have even waited longer. He ends up throwing it sideways, which I hate when he does that. But either way, when it comes to the coaching staff, the only changes I see right now, Ryan Day will be back as long as he wants to be back, and it is kind of a unique situation with Day where he could probably go to the NFL. I think a team would probably hire him immediately to be a head coach. So, but I'm guessing he'll want to be back, and he'll get one more chance at it. And when it comes to the coordinators and things like that, I'm sure Jim Knowles will be back. Listen, Jim Knowles was horrible today. Crazy, but obviously 1 year in, you're not going to just fire him. If this had been a multiple year thing, that's when you look at it. So Jim Knowles, I'm sure, will be back. Maybe the one guy you look at getting rid of, they're all really young. Like the secondary coach, the cornerback coach, the safeties coach, they're all really young. So I don't know if you maybe look at getting rid of one of those guys. Maybe Parker Fleming gets a demotion because the special teams has been really bad this year. Not today. The special teams was really not an issue today. But also, another thing I wanted to say, Xavier Johnson, it's shocking how Mayan Williams, who is clearly injured, clearly slow, Xavier Johnson, I would have started him at running back. Or at least, it's just Xavier Johnson is such an elusive player. It's so mind-boggling how they don't give him the ball more. And last week we start Trevion Henderson, who can barely walk. And then this week it's Mayan Williams. And Ryan Day did say in his press conference, and I'm glad he said it, he said, listen, basically the reason they stopped using Mayan Williams, they could tell that, there were gaping holes for Mayan Williams, and he would get 6 yards out of it, when it probably should have been a 50-yard play. If you go back and watch some of those holes, I think there was a 2nd and 12 or something, and it ended up being a 3rd and 3, but I remember thinking, dude, that is a gaping hole. You should be getting 17, 18 yards on that, and we'll take the 7-yard gain, but it's you got there's just, with Mayan Williams, he's already a bigger, slower back as it is, and then you have him dealing with an injury and you're still playing him. That's where it becomes an issue. So I really don't think there's going to be many changes. I think the biggest thing could be Ryan Day possibly giving up the play calling duties. That will be an internal discussion, I'm sure, or at least tapering it back. I've heard the 2 top candidates at this point, if something happens, it's got to be Luke Fickell and Mike Vrabel. Luke Fickell, obviously, at Cincinnati. Mike Vrabel, coaching really well right now, possibly going to win Coach of the Year for the Tennessee Titans in the NFL. Also, people saying Urban Meyer. Guys, Urban would not be good at this point. Trust me, in a second go-around with Ohio State, after what happened in Jacksonville, I think Urban has run his course. I think I would rather try Day another year. People are responding right now. They're very emotional with the Urban Meyer stuff and things like that, with Ryan Day losing again to Michigan. But I think there's an ultimatum for Ryan Day. Obviously, it's not acceptable for Ohio State. This is not something that can continue to happen. So, you tell Ryan Day, listen, you need to win next year. And if you don't win next year, you're going to have to find an NFL job or another, college job, whatever that may be. I hear Auburn is hiring, but it looks like Auburn's actually getting Hugh Freeze, which I think is a terrible hire, by the way, or at least very underwhelming. But either way, we will see. We've got more quotes. Ryan Day says the Buckeyes were playing really well up front on defense in the first half, but they gave up too many big plays in the second half. So, yeah, Ohio State really was controlling the line of scrimmage. It was a shocking development there in the first half, and then the second half really, I think it was maybe the early fourth quarter drive, the 15-play drive. Michigan's one really sustained 8-minute drive. That drive also included the phantom pass interference, which is just atrocious. And, obviously Ohio State losing this game, it's not on the refs, but that was a horrifically bad call. I mean, that was next level bad. Obviously nobody wants to hear about it because it is what it is. The game happened. It was not good. But my God, on a 3rd and 10, J.J. McCarthy closes his eyes and throws off his back foot out of the end zone on 3rd and 10, and oh my God, let's give him a free 1st and goal. That stuff just drives me crazy. But really, Ohio State was not horrible defending the run. It just got so bad with those 2 Donovan Edwards touchdowns. It was a total meltdown. Ohio State gave up 5 touchdowns of 45-plus yards and scored only 3 points in the second half. Yikes. That is not a good stat there. So, guys, Ohio State, I'm sure, they're not going to be firing Ryan Day. I think it's a situation with Day where he needs to win next year, and it's going to be very tough at Michigan. I don't really want to speculate, but I think Ryan Day, and this has been thought, in Ohio State circles, things like that, Ryan Day thinks Kyle McCord is a dud. And, is Devin Brown ready? He probably should be because he has a year in the program. When it comes to quarterbacks, the only thing you don't want is starting a true freshman, and Devin Brown would be a redshirt freshman having a year. So I think that's what they might do. McCord, don't know exactly, but I believe the thought is he's a dud. And he will probably be in the transfer portal. I'm sure they'll give him a chance to win the job. Definitely, especially if they like Devin Brown. You want Devin Brown to go out and earn the starting job. But just the way they use McCord in these blowout games, they keep saying he has a really strong arm. I cannot see his arm being strong at all. At least the way he throws in these blowout games, I don't know. Or maybe they go to the transfer portal and say, screw it, we're just going to try and get a Caleb Williams type from the portal. I mean, look at USC, right? So I don't think there's going to be many changes. Maybe one of the defensive secondary coaches gets fired. Jim Knowles, I'm sure, is staying. Larry Johnson, I'm sure, is staying. So maybe the only thing that happens is Ryan Day gives up the play calling, or Ryan Day just gets pissed off because he gets so much hate from Ohio State fans and says, I just want to go to the NFL. And Ohio State, in that situation, I think it would be Luke Fickell. Fickell, I believe the report was he could have had the Notre Dame job if he wanted it, and he said no thanks. I think he's waiting for the Ohio State job, and I think if he was offered it, he would definitely accept it. Of course, if you go get Luke Fickell, you instill a complete different culture into the Ohio State program, which is really based around defense, and you would have to shill out probably $1 or $2 million to get an elite level young offensive coordinator. That's the problem that Texas A&M is currently having. They've got Jimbo Fisher basically running their offense. There's no innovative mind. So I think if Ohio State does get Luke Fickell, they would go out and shill out money for a high-level offensive coach. But then again, it's like Luke Fickell would be in control of the defense. Would you really want Jim Knowles in that situation? I don't know. So you've got multiple clashes right now in the Ohio State, coaching tree when it comes to possibly making a move. But right now, I would imagine everything is staying the same, which probably honestly isn't good enough. The team looks lost. Day looked horrible in his press conference. And then when it comes to this game, I mean, my goodness, I heard CJ Stroud was like, I don't know if I'll play. This is just a joke. I tweeted it out. The last thing, like, if we see Kyle freaking McCord starting the Consolation Bowl, aka the Rose Bowl, dude, that is worst case scenario. You might as well just boycott the thing. I mean, going against Oregon, of all teams. And then people are like, they're just going to get annihilated by Georgia. So let them get annihilated by Georgia, man. Why would we want to go to the Consolation Bowl again? I don't understand that line of thinking. Just let them get crushed by Georgia. People will complain more, but at least, you're in the spotlight. I mean, we saw last year in the Consolation Bowl, nobody cares. Ohio State beat Utah. Oh, my goodness. What a win. I will say Marvin Harrison Jr. did break out that game, but the last thing that I think it's trending towards the way CJ Stroud answered that question. I don't think he's going to be playing if they're playing in the Consolation Bowl. So, that's not a good situation. We don't want, maybe Devin Brown will start. Maybe you get Devin Brown to start. That would be interesting to see something like that happen. But either way, there is just so little to gain facing a team like Oregon in the Consolation Bowl. You win, it doesn't matter. You lose, you lost to a Pac-12 team. It's a joke. And you're probably playing a bunch. You're probably JSN obviously has no chance of coming back. There's no reason to. Paris Johnson Jr. might be opting out for that, and then C.J. Stroud as well, and maybe a few defensive players. So Ryan Day right now, I'm sure is going to remain the head coach, and they'll say, listen, this has got to stop. This is 2 years in a row. It's the same exact thing. You need to win next year, and if you don't win, I'm sure Ryan Day really, he's not going to be broken up if he gets fired, to be completely honest, next year, because he can just go to the NFL. He can go coach the Houston Texans and probably, think about that job, coaching like the freaking Houston Texans. Yeah, you're in the NFL, but in terms of their fan base and how angry they get compared to Ohio State football, you want to talk about a walk in the park. So maybe he wants that more. This has got to be very tough for any human being to take, because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that is coming at him right now, because a lot of Ohio State fans are not used to this. And it happens one year, okay, it needs to be fixed, and Day said it was going to get fixed, and at home, it doesn't get fixed. Now, I do think the score was a little bit of an aberration. It was closer than that, but still, Michigan thoroughly outplayed Ohio State again. So, I don't really know where you go from here. Ohio State continues to have the talent advantage. They continue to out-recruit Michigan pretty easily. But I think that another big issue for Ohio State is going to be Penn State football next year. I think next year is Ohio State will be at home for that game, but you have to figure Penn State is going to beat Ohio State one of these years. They've come so close. And it's like, when that happens, does Penn State start to become an issue? Because now, back-to-back years, you don't even make the Big Ten championship game, and now you have Penn State getting better and better and better, and now they've got a 5-star quarterback with a team that is just on a, complete run right now, which is helping Ohio State's strength of schedule. But next year, they're going to be even better. So, Penn State, Michigan returning J.J. McCarthy, it's looking really, really bleak for Ryan Day in what could be his final year for Ohio State. Next year, again, they're not going to fire him unless he wants to leave. Well, they would never fire him this year, guys, this offseason. I'm just telling you. It would be a Ryan Day saying, I'm done. I want to go to the NFL. I'm tired of this fan base. That's what it would be. And then, or they say, listen, you can stay. You need to beat Michigan next year, or you're getting fired. This is not a healthy relationship right now. And it is a total mess, and the fan base hates Ryan Day. So I don't really know what to say. It is shocking that this happened. The game, I got to start taking these games more seriously, because it's like, you're up 10-3, and, I don't even think about Ohio State losing, to be completely honest with you. I know that's very arrogant, but it just feels like there's no way they're going to lose to this team. Even when Ohio State went down 17-13, and then I think they had like a 4-play touchdown drive with Marvin Harrison Jr. catching like a 46-yard touchdown. It looks like they're running the frickin' scout team. and that was like the last touchdown they had against Michigan. That was the last touchdown they had. And then Ohio State stops Michigan, and that would have been the death blow. That. Ohio State went up 20-17. It was like a 3-and-out. They got the ball back with 3 minutes left in the first half. You gotta ram it. You gotta score a touchdown there. Go up 27-17 at halftime. And that was a really big stop for Michigan, now that I think about it. And then Michigan kind of ran it out at the end of the first half. So, guys, that is the current coaching situation for Ohio State. We'll see what happens with Ryan Day. There's a lot of unknowns, but that is my take on it.